Make voice valuable again. Tressic turns every call and text into action automatically. Learn more at tressic.cloud.
Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and I'm very pleased to have with me again Rob Garry, founder of the POTS Box. Rob, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I'm also delighted to say that this is not a podcast about cybersecurity and agentic AI. I don't think, but it is nevertheless a great opportunity. We've talked a lot about this, but it's still a live opportunity. The POTS replacement program, POTS replacement need and necessity are still underway. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, Rob, what is the POTS Box?
So what the POTS Box is we've put together a managed service for replacing old POTS lines. Some of them are, they've been around for over 100 years and it's antiquated technology. So we've got a simple, really efficient solution to replace those lines. And we put a program in to enable resellers and partners to do it with their end user customers.
So we've talked about it before, but it bears repeating for people that have not heard about it yet. When you say 100 years, you really are talking about 1926. You're talking about elevators that still have a phone in it from 1926.
It has the copper wire connection, the same one that people were using in 1926, all the way back to the turn of the century. This is the technology that we all use for our landlines in our homes, for business phones. That's all being replaced by VoIP. But a lot of the newer technologies don't work for fire alarms, burglar alarms, elevator emergency phones, fax machines. That technology still uses the old antiquated lines, and that's what our solution replaces.
It's interesting that you also mentioned some of the stuff we often have not heard about with POTS replacement, such as fax. It's not in our daily life, most of us. It's not on our radar. It's not in our pocket, but it is in our daily life. In other words, every time you get on an elevator, every time even in places like a warehouse, there's probably a freight elevator that's got one of these. There's like a hidden element to this, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there is. And you think about it, these old decaying copper lines, they're not being kept up. Everybody's moving to the new technology, the AT&Ts of the world, the Verizons. So this old antiquated technology is being used for emergency purposes. It's no longer being used for simple voice communication. It's only being used for the lines that are life or death.
Now, I understand in many, many places and in many states, things are happening at the utility level that are going to get your attention if you haven't heard about this already. Like I've heard about issues such as the line not being abolished, but the cost of running even one line just surging.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We have partners that have told us they've had lines going well over $1,000 a line. A lot of times big companies aren't checking those bills, right? And when they look at it, they can't believe how much they're paying. It used to be, $50, $75 a line. Now we're looking at hundreds and even thousands. Again, the carriers don't want these lines to stay up, so they're pricing it so they'll make money if you're willing to pay that much money for it.
And this then is an opportunity for like MSPs and channel partners, even if, because these guys are probably, hey, I don't sell phones. I don't sell telephones. Why is this such an opportunity for me?
Yeah, because how many of your customers own elevators, fire alarms? Anybody who owns a building, any of your customers that own the buildings, they've got all this stuff going. And so you're letting really good residual revenue go away. And, you could ask the question, well, I'm not an expert on this. Why should I go for it? It's because it's simply asking about the phone bill. And when you come to somebody like us, we can put you in a program where you do no work or you do most of the work and you get paid accordingly. but you don't necessarily have to jump in and make an investment in your sales structure or anything like that. It's a great opportunity. And these lines, there's still over 20 million of them in the business world to go. Once you get these customers, they stay with you a long time. It's very low churn rate. So it's really good incremental revenue for companies in the spaces you were talking about.
So all I actually need to know is, I think this guy's got an old elevator. That's almost the level of knowledge you need in order to do this.
Yeah, and then you ask your existing customer or new customer, can we see your phone bill? And more often than not, you're going to be able to significantly lower their phone bill. You're going to give them much more reliable technology that they have more control of. They can go and look at the health of the line and everything else. Technology, as has come a long way. Nobody's investing in these old copper lines. So all the new stuff is coming out with the new technology.
Now, before we get on to looking at your solution, you talked about, I've been focused on the elevator because it's just, so ubiquitous, but there's all this other stuff. It's amazing that the amount of fax information that's still being used, that a lot of industries, healthcare, real estate, law, government, fax is still being used.
It is. And I mean, when you look at, you brought up healthcare, they have all those HIPAA laws about handling sensitive medical information. They all have to have faxes, and that most of the information about people's records and things like that is being sent over fax. That's the way the law is, instead of sending it out into cyberspace. So there's a lot of people that still use fax machines that you don't necessarily think of right away, because a regular business probably doesn't have a fax machine now, right? But people are handling medical equipment. I mean, medical services information, and like you talked about, there's real estate laws and other types of industries where the information needs to be faxed.
Now, on this show, we have covered companies that are selling devices. We have covered companies that have sold different solutions. How is your approach different?
So it's different in multiple ways. I'll talk about the box really fast. It's an all-in-one box. Some people use multiple pieces of equipment and put it into some type of enclosure. Ours is all-in-one. Ours also can be used with 5G technology. A lot of the ones out there can't. That allows you to use the router in our box for things other than the phone calls, like primary internet connection. You can set up all sorts of monitoring stuff that you want. It's got all the capabilities of a regular wireless router to run stuff, like with the cellular carriers, stuff like that. That's a couple of things about the hardware. The other thing too is our overall the process around it. So you can white label our solution. So our partners, when they go to their customers, they can sell it as their solution. We license them, so they're on the portal. So they get to do that, which is really awesome. We work with all the cellular carriers. We also have multiple programs, Doug. So we don't have one size fits all. I'll just give you a couple of quick examples. Let's say you're a telecom company and you know this stuff inside out, but you think ours is the best to sell. You can bring your own. You can bring your own line if you want. You can do your own installs. You can have your own cellular carrier. You can do all of that, and you can do the billing and everything else. And we're just we manage the lines, our technology. Or you were talking about somebody who's really overwhelmed. This probably isn't for me. I have customers, but I don't want to do anything. We have an agent program where we'll go in and do everything on your behalf. Absolutely everything. And then we have a normal program too. And when I say normal, it might be somebody who wants to do all the work, but they don't want to bill because they're not in the telecom space. We can bill on their behalf, and we put a small fee on it to bill the customer. We can bill on somebody's behalf. They don't have installers. We can do the installs, and we can project manage under their name. So we can do a whole bunch of stuff. we can give you the cellular connectivity. We can do all of it or some of it. So we have like 3 different programs. And what happens is sometimes somebody becomes an agent and they get more comfortable with it. They become a reseller partner. But you can test the water just being an agent. Those are some of the things that make us more unique.
Now, let's stay with that for a second. Tell me what the process looks like.
Yeah. So you mean when we sign somebody up, or or one of our partners makes a sale?
The deployment process. Let's start there.
Okay. So what happens is we have our warehouse. It's US based, and when you place an order, a lot of our customers, they keep inventory with us. They place an order. We'll go and we'll provision. We'll do the cellular activation for you, whether it's yours or ours. Doesn't matter. We'll do it on your behalf. We'll do the cellular activation. We'll provision the phone line. We'll get everything all set up. And then either our partner or us coordinates with the end user customer to go ahead and we partner with them. So they will they'll tell us where to ship it, when to ship it, who to deal with. And so we'll coordinate shipping the device already provisioned, ready to go to the customer location. And then either our install team or your install team goes in, does it. We've got people like sitting by the phone that day knowing that this install is going on. So we're available. If something comes up on the moment, you don't have to tell your customer, hey, I can't figure this out. I'll have to come back. You get us on the phone and we can help you if there's any little obstacles or anything in the way. We're right there because our goal is to complete every install that day, and we try to do it within an hour, 2 hours at most.
And yeah, you wanted also, it sounds like, to talk a little bit about the channel process. In other words, signing up as a channel.
Yeah. So what we're really looking for is partners that have customers and prospects in the spaces we're looking at, right? So if you've got customers that have their own buildings, property management, you got companies that you're doing all their wireless for, but you've never thought about asking them about their phone lines. You're a telecom company that's very familiar with phone lines, but you don't like doing old POTS lines for fire alarms because you're thinking that you're going to be touching the fire alarm. And with that comes liability, right? So what we've been able to do is to get some fire alarm companies to realize or companies who are replacing lines for fire alarms, I should say, they don't have to touch the fire alarm. All you're doing is you're disconnecting the old copper wire, like to say a 66 block, and you're plugging in our device to now send the information over. So we get people that have those type of opportunities, but they didn't want to do it before, or they thought it was too much out of their scope, when really what it is asking them, do you pay the fire alarm bills and everything else? Can I see your phone bill? That's all it really entails. And then we can come in and really help somebody who's more of a newbie at it, or they already know all this stuff and they just want to sell our stuff when they identify it, the opportunity.
Now, we've talked about this before, but for folks that are just sort of learning a little bit more about this, what are the consequences of no action?
Yes, there is. What happens is you're going to get a notice of your lines being shut off. That's one potential consequence, which many people have had. But even if your line's not getting shut off, there's more than that. Obviously, we discussed the price, right? You're looking at, maybe you're going to pay, $30-something for a POTS replacement line. Your customer may be paying $500 to $1,000 or more per line. It's ridiculous. People can't even believe it, but it happens over and over. So many customers are paying ridiculous amounts of money for those lines. So then the other thing is the reliability, right? You used to be working with these big formidable carriers and they wanted to keep your business. So they would roll a truck out that day to fix the issue with the copper. They don't really want the business now. So it's not a priority. So if your line goes down, you might be down for a couple of days. So there's a whole bunch of negative things around it. There's really nothing positive other than you got to take a day where you're going to have a new box installed and everything else. But it's like 2 hours of going through the install per site. It's not that much. And everybody that has these old lines, like at least 90% should do it.
Well, it sounds like an opportunity that is still sort of fresh for a lot of people. It sounds like also the type of opportunity that's just perfect for the MSP and channel partner that don't usually do telecom, but they're sort of, hey, my client owns a bunch of buildings, a bunch of apartment buildings, a bunch of hotels, and so on, places with elevators and so on.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and it's not a lot of work. And obviously, if you're going to do your own installs and your own troubleshooting and all of that at a high level, you got to get trained. But if you're having us do that, it's actually pretty simple. We can have up to 8 lines at a location. We provision the lines for your customer. You pick your cellular carrier, and we get the SIM up and going for you. It's actually not hard to get into, and it's not complicated to learn.
Rob, I really want to thank you for joining me today. Always interesting. Thanks for the update. Where can we learn more about the POTS box?
It's pretty simple. You can go to the potsbox.com, and I'm Robert.Garry at thepotsbox.com. You can reach out to me too.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed. I would like to do another podcast upcoming, explore maybe more about that channel partner opportunity. But for now, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Make voice valuable again. Tressic turns every call and text into action automatically. Learn more at tressic.cloud.